Alright. Alright, Title 312, Natural Resource Commission, Article 29, Oil and Gas, Indiana. Rule 26, Petroleum Production Reporting. Requirement to report monthly production annually at effect with January 1st, 2008 with the oil and operative with the new oil and natural gas with the coal methane with the production of the record with the monthly oil and natural gas with coal methane production sales volume with include individual leaf of the production unit with the owner and operative that shall submit with the report monthly production sales volume of March 1st each of the year with the beginning of March 1st, 2019 all production sales volume of the previous calendar year required information. Oil production sale of the volume of the shall be reform of the reported you with the volume of the oil with the measured after the time of the sale of the following with the custody train for the which of the division inch of the calculate with the natural gas for the coal methane production sale of the volume of the reported the volume of the gas measured for the time of the sale of the following with the custody train for the division with the inch of the calculated u with the pressure base of 14.7 psa with a 60 with the degrees Fahrenheit with the production report shall include with the operating name lease for the farm name with the production name of the production month and year of the purchase the number and the leaf the number to sign with the oil gas purchase with the lease for the well accounting with the production payment of the for the county with the production of the pool with the field the name of the source of the section of the township within range sale of the transfer of the well with the obligations of the report owner and operator who sell the transfer of the well shall be responsible for submitting with the report and of this rule of the portion of the reporting period will become an effective date with the transfer of the permit with another owner and operator with the new operator and the operator owner or operator for the responsible for submitting with the report under the rule of the portion of the reporting period effective the date after the transfer of the permit over the new owner operating rule 27 the operation well for the hydrogen sulfide area with general requirements for the area of the hydrogen sulfide with the area of the minimum the concentration of the 100 parts per million aim at the temperature of the determinative of the division concentration hydrogen sulfide aim at the temperature shall be determined by the owner and operative of the owner's operator explain that upon the request of the division of the owner and operative determine the hydrogen sulfide may be present with the result of the testing under subsection A shall be the division within 10 days of the receipt of the test result of the owner and operative will of the facility associated with the drilling of the operation plugged with the oil and gas pressure of the area of the hydrogen sulfide shall provide safeguards to protect the general public from the harmful effects of hydrogen sulfide in accordance with this section when well is facility associated with the drilling operation plugging the well oil gas purpose located in the area hydrogen sulfide the owner and operator shall install when the direction indicate the strategic location near the drill rig with work over the rig plugging rig at a protection facility indicate the wind direction all types safe up when areas of hydrogen sulfide becomes present storage tank requirements of hydrogen sulfide areas storage tanks operated with this part of the production operation with the near atmospheric pressure for the certain grade for the hydrogen sulfide with 3 feet downwind over the open hatch over the atmospheric vent with the subject of the following with the owner and operator shall keep all of the tank hatches closed at all times except for the necessary with the instrument for the gauge over the touch of the tanks owner and operator shall prevent entry of the storage tank with the facility with the unauthorized person at minimum of the following security measures shall be taken security fence and cover the storage tank located in incorporated city town within 1,000 feet of any occupied dwelling commercial dwellings of the place of the building places of buildings schools churches government buildings public parks for any area that not specified in clause A with a security fence of the locking of the hatches on all of the tanks being inspected with a gauge hydrogen sulfide fumes and vapors atmospheric vents of the oil storage tank then separated shall be minimized to one or more of the following measures of vapor recovery unit combustion tank vapor the combustion device for the permanent reliable ignition system attached thereon and installing maintenance of the suitable carbon filterization device and for other means approved of the division upon the request of the division directive of the owner and operator to conduct the atmospheric monitoring perimeter storage tank facility to point down with a tank the measuring the hydrogen sulfide concentration to the crude oil loading operation on the when the wells are actively flowing producing fluids in the storage tanks warning signs owner and operator shall play for the warning signs alerting person of the presence of the hydrogen sulfide inch of the exit of the road leading to the facility within 50 feet of the tanks of each facility of the sign shall read with a distance of 20 feet with containing with the following information the name of the operator emergency contact information the word dangerous poisonous gas hydrogen sulfide notification of local government on March 31st, each calendar year, owner and operator production facility in the area of the hydrogen sulfide ship the notification existing well with the facility associated with the drilling operating plugging with the well oil gas purpose of the county health department each of the county at least 5 miles from each of the facility fire department close to the well facility associated drilling operation plugging with the well and the oil gas purpose the chief of the executive in each of the incorporated town with the capacity located 5 miles with the well facility associated with the drilling and operating plugging well with the oil and gas purpose of notice of the required in the section shall include the following information name is 24-hour contact information owner and operator map showing the location of each storage tank of the facility area to hydrogen sulfide with notice of the area contact hydrogen sulfide poisonous gases. Rule 28, operating report requirements of Class 2 wells. Operating requirements of Class 2 well. The owner and the operator shall obtain with the written authorization of the rule to operate Class 2 wells. Written authorization injection shall be issued for the owner of the operator submit with the division following with the completion of the report showing the well construct with the Class 2 well in accordance with the permanent issue within 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 29.5. Analyst injection fluid in accordance with Section 700 of the rule certification well that meets the requirements external of mechanical integrity under Section 4 of this rule verified each by either of the following cement ticket for the other measures specified within Section 4C1 through 4C6 for this rule. The certification of the well has passed internal mechanical integrity tests in accordance with Section 2 of this rule. The division director of the may require additional testing, especially equipment with if appropriate with the protection underground soil for the drinking water. Establishment of the internal mechanical integrity of the Class 2 well. The establishment of the internal mechanical integrity includes procurement, placement of the packet in accordance with the subsection B and C with the section successful performance pressure test in accordance with the subsection E. Inspection should be for the tube of the packing unless alternative construction methods are approved by the division of the package should be left no more than 200 feet above the uppermost part of the perforation casing. C. Open hole completion provided with the packer is within cemented for the portion of the production casing such as 50 feet cement above the packer no less than 100 feet above the base of the fresh water. The no perforation should be left open over the packer and left to be isolated with a dual pack with a concrete concentric packer. So for the dual packer is for the uppermost packer with the maybe satisfied with the placement requirements of the subsection. C. With the permission of consent with the division at least 24 hours prior to the initial setting of the resetting the packer of the Class 2 well. Enable the oil and gas inspector to be present with the packer. 7. The owner and operator with the integrity, mechanical integrity before initial injection of the newly permitted Class 2 well. For initial injection Class 2 well, but after any of the work over the well involved with the resetting of the movement of the packer before resuming the injection of the Class 2 well, but after the change of the new permitted injection zone. Before initial injection Class 2 wells after the well has been reactivated by the temporary abandonment status whenever the division reasonable to believe the base upon all of the well record field observation that the well be linking with them properly constructed at least once every 5 years. The measure of the day with the mechanical integrity would last established unless the well has been temporarily abandoned in accordance with 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 29.31.3 and before reassuming the injection fluids after the repair for the made with the failure of the well with the pass of the pressure test. The owner and operator shall comply with the following requirements of conducting pressure test. Shall the internal mechanical integrity Class 2 well the done shall be given the division of the 24 hours before conducting the pressure test for the setting of the depth of the packer. Result of the pressure shall be verified with the representative of the operative report of the division of the form prescribed by the division. Casing tube of the annual spout above the packer should be filled with the fluid for the pressure test is under supervision of the division except for the provided in subsection 3 of this rule of the fluid filling with the casing tube of the annual should be liquid. Test pressure for the minimum of 300 pounds per square inch with the pressure differential between the tube of the annual so 50 pounds per square inch of the test pressure for the maintain the pressure differential no more than 3% over the period of 30 minutes for the well should be a well may be operating and shutting in down during the test. Using nitrogen internal mechanical integrity testing, owner and operative of the operator of the nitrogen with the pressurization casing tube of the daniels with the required test pressure for the valve of the demonstrator with the many of the package are set inside of it, submitted with the casing point with the 200 feet above the upper perforation with the top of the uppermost injection zone. Open a hole with the completion of the corner with the 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 29.27.2b with the demonstrator with the total consistency of the wire line with the reliable measurement to confirm the packer setting depth and after with the current well owner and operator who set with the packer with the packing set of the depth of reflective of the current completion of the recompletion of the report of the well. Establishment external mechanical integrity of the Class 2 well in conjunction with the establishment of the internal mechanical integrity of the Class 2 well with the external mechanical integrity should be evaluated with the division established with the underground source of the drinking water, particularly upward mitigation of the injection fluid. Established external mechanical integrity of the Class 2 well should be constructed in accordance with 312 of the Indiana Code 29.27 and 29.29. External mechanical integrity of the Class 2 well drove in accordance with 312 of the internal Indiana Administrative Code 29.27 through the 29.29 cannot be demonstrated with the cement record with the owner and operator may establish with external mechanical integrity one with the following method. The temperature of the noise location indicating the top of the cement with the cement bound log with again the rate of transit time of the coolerator located with the variable density log. The cement evaluation log with the radioactive tracer survey with the indicating lack of the fluid mitigation behind the casing with the oxygen activation log with indicating liquid of fluid mitigation behind the casing. Another method of the authorized division upon the demonstrator of the owner and operator of the test apply with the methods generally accepted by the petroleum industry that have been found reliable for the demonstrating external mechanical integrity. Monitoring and reporting requirements of Class 2 wells. The owner and operator shall monitor and record the maximum injection pressure, the average injection pressure, the injection volume in the Class 2 well with a weekly basis. The owner and operator shall submit the data collected with the owner subsection A with a monthly basis. Owner and operator shall file the division quarterly report containing the information subsection A and to be given the form to describe the division 30 days after the end of the quarter being reported. Owner and operator shall use the same indicating case of the annual pressure monitoring used instead of any other case the annual pressure test or pressure test performed. Wellhead fittings involved allowing monitoring of the injection annular pressure. Owner and operator shall install the Class 2 with the well only wellhead configured in 1/4-inch female fitting and shuttle valve with all monitoring annuals between the production casing injection and tubing, 1/4-inch female fitting with a shuttle valve with a tubing measuring the injection pressure. Analysis of Class 2 fluids. In addition to the injection fluid analysis required under Section 1 of the rule, owner of the operator shall submit the standard laboratory analysis of the representative sample of the fluid injected within Class 2 well when change in source of the nature injection of the fluid occurs upon request of the division. File a review updated Class 2 well permits at any time of at least every 5 years of the division. Performing the review Class 2 with the well, determining whether the continuing operation well of the meets requirement of Indiana Code 1437 of this article. In this article, the review conducted under subsection A with the making of the following current injection interval with the maximum injection pressure and the rates. For the compliance with the well construction requirement of Class 2 with the wells include the internal and external of the mechanical integrity of Class 2 wells survey at all of the wells within the area of the review of the penetrated injection zone with the consider of the wells may be virtually effective with the operation. Class 2 well, though have the potential call for the contribute with the mitigation injection fluids into the underground source of the drinking water due to the inadequate construction or plugging. If the division determined the well has the potential serve the conduit with the integration fluid with the underground source of the drinking water for the active action plan with the establishment of the disconnect section of the division shall notify the owner and operator with the Class 2 well with the respect of the corrective action plan with a preventing fluid movement into the underground source of the drinking water into the surface of the unpermitted zone within 30 days after the receipt of the notice of the division. Owner and operator with the Class 2 well shall submit the proposed corrective action plan to prevent the movement of the fluid into the underground source of the drinking water that considers the following: nature of the volume of the injected fluid, the nature of the native fluid, with the byproducts of the injection, potentially effective person, geology, hydrology, the history of the injection operation, completion of the plugging records, payment of procedure, and effect of the well has been abandoned with the hydraulic connection with the underground source of the drinking water. The division shall evaluate proposed corrective action plan with the determining whether the modification of the necessary with the division. The director may require validation testing with the special equipment to protect the underground with the source of the drinking water. The director shall establish the final corrective action plan with the determining the protection of the underground source of the drinking water to prevent the fluid movement over the surface into the unpermitted zone. That shall become with the condition of the permit to operate with the Class 2 well. The final corrective action plan is established within subsection H if it becomes effective within 30 days of the issuance unless a person requests administrative review in Indiana Code 421.5. Plugging and leaking wells within an area of view. If the division has the reason to believe that the injection fluid with the mitigating with the underground source of the drinking water leaking surface of the unpermitted zone with the unpermitted previously unknown well with the drill hole located within the area of the review of the Class 2 well. The well shall be plugged with the owner and operator unless the owner and operator demonstrate with the mitigating of the fluids are not a result of the operating of the Class 2 well. The owner and operator may order for the division to shut the Class 2 well until all necessary corrective actions required by this section are complete with the prevent mitigation and injection fluids. Unpermitted previously unknown well with the drill hole cannot be shown to have been constructed plugged with a manner sufficient to protect with the mitigation fluids for the underground with the source of the drinking water source of the unpermitted zone shall be plugged by a fluent owner and operator of the Class 2 well. If the division has the reason to believe that the well with the previously plugged within accordance with Indiana Code 1437 located with the area with the review of the Class 2 well causing injection fluid is mitigated with the underground source of the drinking water leaking in the surface of the dome in the permitted zone of the previously plugged with the well shall be replugged 60 days alternative time and approved with the division directed by the previously permitted with the time of the previously plugged with the well is plugged, and if known with the owner and operator of the Class 2 well with the previously permitted does not replug with the well, owner and operator of the Class 2 well should be entitled to establish the fluid leaking into the underground source of the drinking water to sources if it does not result of the operating Class 2 well with the violation of the section may result of the issue of the order and requirement of the owner and operator of the Class 2 well. Owner and operator shall notify the division orally within 24 hours of any of the failure, irregularity indicating fluid and leaking into the underground source of the drinking water surface of the unpermitted zone. Owner and operator shall provide with a written notice of failure and irregularity of the division within 5 days of the occurrence and comply with Section A of this rule. Approval of denial of the application. Notice of the division shall issue the notice of approval of denial of the application submitted under Section 1 or 8 of the rule according to 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 29.3 and 5. The decision for the denial of the application subject to Indiana Code 421.5. Rule 29, operating and reporting requirements underground gas storage facility reserved. Rule 30, operating and reporting requirement underground petroleum storage facility reserved. Rule 31, management waste on-site remediation. Purpose and scope of this rule. The purpose of this rule is to establish requirements for the management of the treatment of the disposal of the waste associated with the operation of the oil and gas purpose of the Indiana Code 1437 of the waste coverage of the covenant 312 of the Indiana Code 2921 in completion with of the 2922 for the well stimulation 312 of the Indiana Code 2923 and the well workover waste for the 312 of the Indiana Code 2932 with the norm waste. If responsible for the owner of the operator with the ensure that all the waste resulting in activity process with the connection of the operation of the well with the oil and gas purpose of the Indiana Code 1437 article managed just within the for the applicable federal, state, and local waste for the management law of the regulation, including waste not specifically identified within this article. Management treatment of disposal of the operation with the commonly encountered oil and gas waste materials. This section establishes requirement of the management treatment of disposal of the commonly encountered oil and gas waste material. The owner and operator of the disposal of the method of the other no special in this section shall be the violation of the article subject to the enforcement action. Whose prior written authorization received the Division Director of the Consolation of the Department of Environmental Management of the owner and operator demonstrate the disposal of the method permissible under the local and state with the federal waste management law of the regulation, except the otherwise required in the article oil and gas waste material that should be stored with the above ground tanks vessel with the other container leak free with the suitable for the store of the containment of waste material with all different type of the should not be mixed mingled except with expressly authorized in the article that is all or is allowed under the local, state with the federal waste management law of the regulation shall be covered the otherwise protected with exposure of the precipitation and surface of water runoff and with the four not be only stored within temporarily until the arrangement can be reused, recycled with the property. Dispose of the produced water, including produced water recovered during the spill response operations well with the producing blowdown fluids and shall be managed with the disposal of any of the following methods recycle with existing producing water storage tanks, underground injection permitted with the Class 2 wells, the treated with the facility with the authorized to accept the type of the waste for the Department of Environmental Management, crude oil, including crude oil recovered during the spill response with the operation, hydrocarbons skimmed with it from the drone completion production work over the plugging of the pits for the shall be managed to dispose of the following methods. Recycle with existing crude oil storage tank with the underground injection of the permitted in Class 2 well with the application leave of the road with the counting of the road of dust for the pressure in the corner for 312 in Indiana Administrative Code 2925. 6. Treatment as a permitted waste oil recovery facility authorized with the except for the type of the waste for the disposal of the solid waste landfill with the other waste management facility permitted with the Department of Environmental Management except for the type of the waste. Crude oil tank at the bottom with the bottom and 7 of the petroleum shall be managed for the disposal of the following methods underground injection permitted with the Class 2 disposal of the wells with the application leaf of the road county road with the duty dust suppression corn with 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 2925. 6. Treatment of permitted waste oil with recovery authorized to accept the type of the waste for the disposal of solid waste landfill with the other waste management facility permitted with the Department of Environmental Management except for these types of waste. Storm water that accumulates inside of the crude oil production tank batteries shall be managed for the requirements of 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 2924-2C6. Disposed of the following methods: recycle the existing producing water storage tank with the underground injection with the permitted with the Class 2 well when authorized 312-29242E. The discharge requirement with the requirement 312 of the IAAC 2924-2F. Treatment of facility authorized to accept the type of the waste for the Department of Environmental Management. Water result of the hydrostatic testing casing tubing flow lines or other pipelines shall be managed for the disposal of the following methods: recycle the existing production water storage tank with the recycle the reused into another well or testing site with the underground injection permitted to Class 2 wells. Land application fluid meets for the following criteria: the chloride shall be less than 1,000 milligrams per liter. Total dissolved solid should be less than 1,500 milligrams per liter. The pH greater than 6.5 or less than 9. No visible sheen shall be present in the fluids prior to the land application. The following type of the oil, gas, waste material should be managed with disposal of the solid waste landfills. Other waste management facilities permitted with the Department of Environmental Management, except for the types of waste spent, filter media resulting in the treatment of the reduced water using absorbent and pad with the absorbent materials. Following type of the oil, gas, waste material that will be managed and disposed of in accordance with the subsection H of the reclaiming and recycled for use and iron sponges, molecular sleeve, other solid resulting from the gas treatment operation, spent amonium glycol, other gas treatment fluids, spent charcoal, other solids used in conjunction with vapor recovery and vapor control process for the use of solvents of the motor oil, gear, oil, lubricants, compressor oil, hydraulic oil, unused treatment chemicals on production and with the drilling completion work over the plugging operations. After being cleaned with the annual residual product, the unused drums and totes and other containers, tank processes of the treatment vessels containing the tubes arrive with the wellheads, valves, the flow pipes, and pumping units, cable spools, other metallic equipment with the unserviceable, otherwise considered to be oil and gas waste material should be managed for disposed of by any of the following methods. After being cleaned, to be removed with the residual soil with the other contaminant transferred to the metal recycling facility, disposal of the solid waste landfill, other waste management facility permitted with the Department of Environmental Management to accept this type of waste division issue the notice of approval of the denial application submitted under subsection B in accordance with 312 in Indiana Administrative Code 2935, the decision to approve or deny the application subject to the Indiana Code 4215. Alright, management of the natural occurring radioactive material with the norm, the identification norm contaminated equipment that for the purpose of the production of the facility with contaminated risk of the norm contaminant means of the following: new opening shell of the gas product operation, enhanced recovery oil production operation at any production facility with where the equipment operation that's described in subdivision 1 and 2 where they have been stored within production facility with the determined division with the contaminated norm contaminated or radioactive radiation survey instrument and measurement of the owner and operator production of the facility with the risk of the radioactive contamination shall be responsible to determine the norm contaminated equipment that is present in any of the other protection operations that is filed with the radiation survey instruments used shall be tested, calibrated, using the method and intervals recommended by the equipment manufacturer capable to detect with the measurement of the radiation exposure for the 1 UR for at least 500 URs an hour. Measurement shall be performed by the operator knowledge of the property trained and use the operation of the radiation survey equipment instrument. Upon receiving the request of the division owner and operator shall provide the evidence of the radiation survey instrument, the properly tested the calibrated measurement that was performed by the operator with the knowledge and training and use of the radiation survey instrument. Upon determination of norm contaminated equipment, the owner and operator shall provide the Britain North Division within 30 days, include the name of the location, facility, the description, equipment identified with the norm contaminated, management of the disposal plan with the norm contaminated equipment. Owner and operator facility found with the norm contaminated equipment shall prepare plan and identification management of the norm contaminated equipment that identified with the procedure of the calibrating radiation survey instrument, equipment with the requirements for the equipment, the training use of the property of the radiation survey instrument, and with the inventory tracking location each of the norm contaminated equipment at the facility with the plan shall be made available to the inspection company with the division during the reasonable business hour of the inventory shall define each of the norm contaminated equipment. The radiation exposure level required for the data levels were measured with the web of the norm contaminated equipment is currently in use located as in norm contaminated equipment storage as waiting the treatment of the disposal for each of the norm contaminated equipment have been removed of the facility with the treatment of the disposal. The owner and operator shall maintain the records of the found of the day of the equipment that removed of the facility with the identified location and with the treatment with the disposing of the equipment. Nothing with the use of the norm contaminated equipment, the oil and gas norm, the waste for the removal of the equipment from the treatment operation. Owner and the operator shall remove the update of the inventory no less than frequently than every 90 days after as long with the norm contaminated equipment is present at the facility. Prohibited to dispose of the owner and operator with the shall not dispose of the oil and gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment except as provided in this rule. Authorized disposal method. The section authorizes the method of disposal of the norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment. They prior to the authorization of the division prior with the written notice for the received by the division 48 hours prior with the commencing disposal operation notice shall be indicate the method of the prohibited disposal of the norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment. The owner and operator made is over the oil and gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment by placing in between plugs of the well, being the plug with the band and provide with the following the strip of the owner of the lease until the waste over the disposal of the curve of the provided ring consent with the disposal. Oil and gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment placed for the well at the depth of at least 250 below the base of the lowermost on the ground source of the drinking water. If the oil and gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment is in case of the tube string with the norm contaminated equipment, the tube string with the tubing must be to be placed and down dropped into the well and be equipped within a similar level. The retrieval of the length of the string is secured within the cement. The cement plug shall be immediately above the oil and the gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment. Plug shall be either above the cement retainer or above the cast iron bridge plug with the tag located with the position of the cement and with the surface of the plug with the color dyed with the red iron oxide. Permanent market depicting the three-bladed radiation symbol with regard to the color of the shell blade well with the steel blade with the top of the well encasing. Owner and operator shall include the following information plan with the well plug submitted with the division 312 of the Indiana Administrative Code 4933. Physical nature and oil gas for the norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment. The volume of the oil and gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment. Radioactive level of the oil and gas norm waste. Radium 226 combined with 228 and radium 228 of the norm radionuclides for the soil. Other methods of pressure pipe with the contaminated soil back sediment. The contamination rate with norm contaminated such as pipe and pump valves. Owner and operator release of the units and facilities of which oil and gas and norm waste of the norm contaminated equipment was generated. The swift of the oil and gas norm waste for the norm contaminated equipment for the field lease unit facility producing formation. Oil and gas norm contaminated equipment is encased on the tubing. The owner of the operator shall include the following information: side grade with the weight per foot with the outside of the diameter of the tubing, substrate for the depth of the top of the bottom of the tubing, diameter retrieval assembly with the tubing and screw with the hole with the secured by cement with a prior bridge plug or cement retainer. Unless otherwise prohibited, an owner and operator with the made for the oil and gas norm waste of the barrel with at the same time with the waste generated with the provided with the waste has been treated with the process of the radioactive concentration. C5 PCI grams above the background of radium-226 combined with radium-228 with 150 PCIs above the background of any other norm radionuclide average over the first 6 of the inch of the soil below the strip that does not exceed 15 PCIs with above the ground radium-226 with combined 228 with the average over the 6 inch layer of the treatment, the process of the curve of the disposal of the control of the fall within the definition of the disposal. Subsection does not authorize barrel of the norm contaminated equipment. The owner and operative of the demanded over the oil, gas, norm, and the waste for the same type of the waste for the addition of applying it, mixing it, lands for the providing in such application for the mixing of the radioactive concentration air with the norm waste as is applied with a mixed of the 9C5 PCI with above ground background radium-226 combined with radium-228 100 with a 50 PCI grams above any other radionuclide. Any operative of the made is over the norm whether disposal of the permit of the Indiana Department of Environmental Management except for the waste facility in the other state with the disposal facility is authorized under the license to receive and dispose of such waste. Alright, permit for injection into the Class 2 well for the owner and operative of the show obtained with the permit specifically authorized to disposal of the oil and gas norm waste injection Class 2 well before injecting the waste. The division shall issue with the permit to disposal of the oil and gas norm waste and then Class 2 well only if the division determines the waste is not present as a hazard, public health, safety of the environment. The additional application requirement 312 of the Indiana Code 29.5 of the applicant permit to inject the oil and gas norm waste shall include description of physical nature such as the pipe scale of the contaminated soil of the basic sediment with the waste to be disposed of, statement of the total volume oil, gas, normal gas, disposal of the proposed rate with a way to dispose of the statement of the maximum measure of the radioactive level of waste in radium-226 and 226 with any other norm radionuclide with the disposed of the additional of the information required with the division demonstrate the proposed disposal protects of the public health and safety and the environment. In addition, the notice for the requirements set forth in the Indiana Code 312-29.5 of the applicant permitted to inject with the norm waste shall include the notice of information required in subsection C. The division shall issue the notice of approval of the denial application submitted under this section according to 312 of the Indiana Code Administration 2935. Decision to approve or deny the application subject to Indiana Code 421.5. Record keeping. The owner and operator of the leaf unit with each of the oil and norm gas waste with the norm contaminated equipment, the generator shall maintain with the records include identified with the property with the norm waste, norm contaminated equipment that was generated with the leaf, the unit with the facility name, production formation, image of identified the facility site with the norm waste, the norm contaminated equipment that's disposed of, physical nature of the norm waste, the norm contaminated equipment, the volume of the norm waste for the person disposed of the facility with the site with the well with the radioactive level of the norm waste within 226 radium and the 228 radium, other than the norm radionuclide sold with the other medium over the pipe scale of the contamination over the basic sediment norm contaminated equipment stated for equipment. Any person who keeps plans for the records required by the rule shall make the records available to examination copy of the division during the reasonable working hours. Temporary Rule 2033 temporary abandonment over the wells and well plugging requirements.